The silence of my empty house was a blanket I'd wrapped myself in since my husband, Mark, had passed 2 years, and the echoes of his laughter still felt closer than the present. I was Marie, a 57-year-old woman whose life had subtly shrunk to the dimensions of her quiet suburban home. My days were measured in cups of tea, the gentle rustle of book pages, and the occasional, well-meaning check-in call from my sister, Linda. It was during one of these languid afternoons that a fit of restless energy seized me. The guest bedroom closet, a cavern of forgotten things, seemed to glare at me from down the hall. It was time, I decided, to declutter, to try and make space in a physical world for a life that felt perpetually on pause. The air inside the closet was thick with the scent of cedar and memories. I pulled out boxes of old photo albums, Mark's college textbooks he could never bear to part with, and my own relics from a younger self. And then, my fingers brushed against something soft, tucked away in a garment bag at the very back. A jolt of recognition, sweet and sharp, went through me. It was my skirt. Not just any skirt, but the floral print, flowing midi skirt I'd worn on my honeymoon in Santorini 30 years ago. With trembling hands, I unzipped the bag. The fabric, a little musty but otherwise intact, spilled out in a riot of faded pinks and greens. I held it up to the light from the bedroom window. Could I even fit into it? The Marie of today, with her softer edges and the gentle weight of grief, was a different woman from the lithe, 27-year-old bride who had danced with her new husband under the Aegean stars. A reckless, almost girlish impulse took hold. I needed to know. Slipping out of my comfortable jeans and sweater, I stood before the full-length mirror on the back of the bedroom door. The cool silk of the lining whispered against my skin as I stepped into the skirt. I tugged it up over my hips, my heart pounding with a ridiculous sense of anticipation. It was tight, a firm, unforgiving hug around my waist. The zipper refused to budge past the halfway point. I sucked in my breath, tugged again, and with a final, stubborn rasp, it closed. I was in. I looked at my reflection. The woman staring back was a strange composite. My face, lined with laughter and loss, was framed by my sensible, short silver hair. But from the waist down, I was a ghost from a sun-drenched past. The skirt flared out, the pattern still vibrant against the dim room. A wave of emotion, so potent it stole my breath, washed over me. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was a visceral connection to a joy I feared I'd forgotten how to feel. I closed my eyes, and for a fleeting second, I could almost feel the warmth of the Grecian sun on my skin, hear the clink of glasses, and see Mark's young, adoring face. And that's when I heard it, the distinct, unmistakable sound of the front door opening and closing. My eyes flew open, my blood running cold. Mark was gone. The house was supposed to be empty. A jolt of pure, undiluted panic shot through me. Had I forgotten to lock the door? Was someone breaking in? "Aunt Marie, you home?" The voice, young, male, and familiar, echoed from the foyer. It was my nephew, Ethan, Linda's boy, 16, all lanky limbs and a voice that still occasionally cracked. Relief, immediate and dizzying, was quickly replaced by a fresh, hot wave of sheer mortification. What was I doing? Standing in my bedroom, in a skirt that was a solid 3 decades too young for me, a skirt I could barely breathe in, caught in a moment of profound and private foolishness. I'm in here, Ethan, I called out, my voice an octave too high. Just give me 1 second. But it was too late. The floorboards in the hallway creaked. He was already coming down the hall, probably to drop off something from his mom. My mind raced. The bathroom was too far. Hiding behind the door was pointless. I stood frozen, a deer in the headlights of my own embarrassing sentimentality. The bedroom door swung open. Ethan stood there, a lanky silhouette against the hall light. He was holding a Tupperware container, no doubt filled with his mom's famous lasagna, a weekly gesture of care that I both appreciated and that highlighted my own solitude. His eyes, the same bright blue as his mother's, scanned the room and landed on me. I braced myself for it. The laugh, the confused, "What are you wearing?" The teenage judgment that would instantly shatter this fragile, precious memory I'd been clinging to. I felt my face flush a deep, humiliated crimson. I was a silly old woman, playing dress up with a life that was long gone. But the laugh didn't come. Ethan's gaze moved from my flustered face, down to the skirt, and back up again. His expression wasn't one of mockery or confusion. It was thoughtful, curious. "Whoa," he said softly, his voice devoid of any sarcasm. He took a step into the room. "Aunt Marie, you look cool." I blinked. Cool. The word felt foreign in this context. "Yeah," he said, his eyes lingering on the floral pattern. "That's a seriously vintage piece. The cut, the print, that's like real boho chic." He looked at me, a genuine spark of interest in his eyes. "Where did you get that?" I was utterly speechless. My mouth opened and closed, But no sound came out. This was not the reaction I had prepared for. This was not in the script of this humiliating little scene I had envisioned. It's old, Ethan. I finally managed to stammer out. From my honeymoon. It doesn't even fit right. I gestured weakly at the strained zipper. That's what makes it authentic, he said, with the surprising authority of a new generation. He placed the Tupperware container on my dresser and came closer, circling me with an appraising eye that was so unlike his usual video game-obsessed self. The fit is perfect. Honestly, it's supposed to be a bit flowy. Is that raw silk? I think so. I was completely disarmed. The panic had receded, leaving behind a bewildered stillness. This is incredible, Ethan murmured more to himself than to me. He stopped his circling and looked at me, a new, almost excited light in his eyes. Aunt Marie, can I see the rest of your old clothes? And that's how it began. The moment that left me speechless wasn't the intrusion, or the potential for mockery. It was this unexpected, earnest interest from a boy I thought I knew. A boy who communicated mostly in grunts and gaming jargon. Still in a daze, I pointed to the open closet, to the boxes and garment bags spilling out their contents. It's all in there. A bunch of old junk. Really? Ethan didn't need a second invitation. He beelined for the closet with the focus of a treasure hunter. I watched, the tight skirt still constricting my waist, as my 16-year-old nephew began to excavate my past. He pulled out a sequined top from the 80s. Disco glam, he declared. A pair of high-waisted, wide-leg jeans. Y2K is totally back. A velvet blazer I'd worn to a gallery opening with Mark. This is fire. Aunt Marie. Seriously. He wasn't just tossing them aside. He was holding them up, examining the stitching, feeling the fabric. He laid each piece carefully on my bed, creating a growing pile of time capsules. I slowly, carefully, unzipped the honeymoon skirt and let it pool at my feet. The spell broken. I pulled my sweater back on, feeling suddenly exposed in a different way. Ethan, I said, my voice finding its normal register again. What is all this? Since when are you into women's fashion? He paused, holding a fringed suede vest from the 90s. A slight blush crept up his neck. He looked from the vest to me, and I saw a flicker of vulnerability in his eyes that I'd never seen before. It's not just women's fashion, he said, his voice quieter now. It's design history. I've been watching a lot of videos about fashion history, about thrifting, about sustainable style. He took a deep breath, as if steeling himself. I want to be a designer, Aunt Marie, a costume designer for movies. The confession hung in the air between us, delicate and profound. In all the years of birthday parties and Christmas gatherings, of watching him grow from a toddler to a teenager, he had never once mentioned this. I realized, with a pang of guilt, how little I knew about his inner world, how I had categorized him based on superficial observations. A costume designer, I repeated, my voice soft. Ethan, that's wonderful. His shoulders, which had been slightly hunched in anticipation of something, judgment, maybe, relaxed. A real, bright smile spread across his face. You think so? I do, I said, and I meant it. But why is this a secret? Your mom never said anything. He looked down at the vest in his hands. Mom, she thinks it's a phase. She keeps talking about me going into engineering. Like Dad. She says fashion is a tough industry and that I should have a real backup plan. He mimicked his mother's voice with a painful accuracy. So I just stopped talking about it. My heart ached for him. I knew Linda meant well, her caution born of a mother's love and fear. But I also saw the passion in Ethan's eyes, a passion I hadn't seen in a long time, in anyone. Well, I said, sitting down on the edge of my bed, the mountain of clothes between us. Your mom isn't here right now, and as far as I'm concerned, this isn't a phase. It's a passion, and passions are to be encouraged. For the next 2 hours, my quiet, lonely bedroom was transformed. It became a museum, a design studio, a confessional. Ethan would hold up a piece, and a memory would unlock for me. I told him about the night I wore the sequined top, how Mark had spilled his drink on it and spent the whole night looking mortified. I showed him the velvet blazer and described the artist whose work we'd seen that night, how we'd argued about whether it was genius or pretentious all the way home. He listened, rapt. He wasn't just hearing stories, he was absorbing the context, the life that these clothes had lived. He'd ask questions about the silhouettes, the fabrics chosen for the era, how it felt to move in them. He saw my past not as a collection of outdated fads, but as a living, breathing archive of style and personal history. Then, he started to style me. He'd pair the high-waisted jeans with a simple black turtleneck of mine from the closet, cinching the waist with a vintage belt he found in a box. See? Modern vintage, he'd say, stepping back to admire the effect. He draped the fringed vest over my shoulders. This adds texture and movement. I looked in the mirror. It was still me, Marie, the widow with the silver hair. But there was a new light in my eyes. I saw a version of myself that was connected, not severed, from the woman I used to be. Under Ethan's enthusiastic direction, my past and present were being woven together into something unique, something entirely new. The afternoon light began to fade, casting long shadows across the room. We had created organized piles, alterations, vintage keepers' donations. But we had created so much more than that. We had built a bridge, one made of silk, denim, and sequins, across a generational and emotional divide. As Ethan prepared to leave, his phone buzzing with texts from his mom wondering where he was, he hesitated at the door. "Aunt Marie, thank you for not laughing, for listening." "Thank you, Ethan," I said, my voice thick with an emotion I couldn't name. "You have no idea what you gave me today." He grinned, that lopsided, teenage grin I loved. Can I come back? Maybe we could go thrifting sometime? You'd be an amazing scout." "I would love that," I said, and I knew it was the truest thing I'd said all week. After he left, the house was quiet again, but the silence was different. It wasn't empty, it was full of the lingering energy of creativity, of shared secrets, of rediscovery. I walked back into my bedroom and looked at the now organized closet. It wasn't a tomb of a lost life anymore. It was a treasure chest, and Ethan had handed me the key. I picked up the honeymoon skirt from where I'd left it on the floor. I held it to my face, inhaling the scent of cedar and memories. Then, I folded it carefully and placed it not in the back of the closet, but in the alterations pile. Maybe, with a little adjustment, it could fit the woman I was now, not the woman I had been. The moment my nephew walked in on me, I had been braced for embarrassment, for a confirmation of my own irrelevance. What happened next did leave me speechless. It wasn't a moment of shame, but one of profound grace. It was the discovery that our pasts aren't prisons, and that connection can come from the most unexpected places, sometimes from a teenager who sees the beauty in an old skirt, and in the process, helps you see it in yourself again.